In the busy courthouse in London, Judge Sarah Mitchell sat at her wooden desk. Her glasses sat halfway down her nose as she read through papers. The morning sunlight came through the big windows, making patterns on the floor. Case number 374, called the clerk. Lisa Thompson against the state. A young black woman stood up from the bench. She wore a neat black jacket and held a folder close to her chest. Her name was Lisa Thompson, and she looked nervous, but stood tall. Ms. Thompson, Judge Mitchell, said without looking up, "You failed to appear for your court date on March 15th. The charge was for a traffic violation." "Your Honor," Lisa began, her voice clear but respectful. "I was in Kenya that week. I lead a charity program there. I can show you my passport and tickets." Judge Mitchell finally looked up. She adjusted her glasses and frowned. "A charity program? Ms. Thompson, I've heard many excuses in my 20 years on this bench." "It's not an excuse, Your Honor. I run a travel blog. I document my volunteer work helping local schools in Kenya. Thousands of children—" "A travel blog?" Judge Mitchell interrupted. She shook her head. "That doesn't sound like a real job to me. The court needs payment, not internet stories." Lisa felt her face grow warm. The courtroom was quiet now. Everyone watched her. "Your Honor, with respect, I make my living through my work. I teach English, bring supplies to schools, and share these experiences online. My readers donate money that goes directly to help the children." Judge Mitchell tapped her pen on the desk. "Ms. Thompson, just because you travel doesn't mean you can ignore British law. The fine is $300. You have 30 days to pay." Lisa opened her mouth to speak again, but the judge had already moved on to the next case. As Lisa walked toward the exit, she stopped near the judge's desk. She placed a business card on the corner. "If you ever want to understand what I do, Your Honor, my blog is written there. It's not about traveling for fun. It's about making real change." The judge didn't look up, but several people in the courtroom turned to watch Lisa leave. That afternoon, Judge Mitchell worked at her desk. She saw the business card still sitting on the corner. It had a simple design: Lisa's Journey, Connecting. Worlds Through Travel. She picked it up and turned it over. On the back, Lisa had written, "Sometimes what looks like a fine becomes a conversation about something bigger." Judge Mitchell put the card in her drawer and continued working. But throughout the day, she found herself wondering about what Lisa had said. By evening, as she packed up to leave, she pulled out the card again and looked at it one more time. David Wilson, another judge at the courthouse, noticed her looking at the card. "Interesting case today?" he asked. "Just a traffic violation," Judge Mitchell replied. "The defendant claimed she was in Kenya doing charity work through her travel blog." David nodded. "Ah, yes, Lisa Thompson. She comes to our local school every month to talk to students about global awareness. My daughter's class loves her visits." Judge Mitchell looked surprised. "You know her?" "Everyone in the community does. She's quite well known for her work with African schools. Brings medicine, books, school supplies. Her blog has helped build 3 classrooms." That night, Judge Mitchell sat at home with her cup of tea. She thought about what David had said. She pulled out the business card one more time. Maybe, she thought, there was more to Lisa Thompson than just a simple traffic case. The next morning arrived too soon. Judge Mitchell was preparing for the day's cases when her assistant, Robert, knocked on her door. "Your Honor, there's someone here to see you. It's about yesterday's case with Ms. Thompson." "Send them in," Judge Mitchell said, setting down her coffee cup. A young man entered the room. He carried a laptop under his arm and smiled politely. "Your Honor, I'm James Wesley. I represent several schools in Kenya that work with Lisa Thompson." Judge Mitchell invited him to sit down. "I understand you may have some concerns about Ms. Thompson's work." James continued. "I wanted to show you what she actually does." He opened his laptop and turned it toward the judge. On the screen was a video of children in bright blue uniforms, sitting at new desks in a freshly painted classroom. They were singing, "Thank you, Teacher Lisa." "This school had no roof last year," James explained. "Now they have desks, books, and even a computer donated by Lisa's readers. She doesn't just travel, Your Honor. She transforms lives." Judge Mitchell watched the video carefully. The children's smiling faces filled the screen. In the background, she could see Lisa teaching English to a group of eager students. "Why are you showing me this?" the judge asked. "Because yesterday you made a decision based on what you thought you knew. But like many things in life, the truth was deeper than it appeared." The end Judge Mitchell felt her cheeks grow warm as she watched the video. The children's happy faces made something shift inside her. She closed her eyes for a moment and remembered her own words from yesterday. "The court needs payment, not internet stories." "Thank you for bringing this to my attention, Mr. Wesley," she said quietly. After James left, Judge Mitchell sat alone in her office. She pulled out the business card again and looked at the website address. Her fingers moved slowly across the keyboard as she typed the web address. The blog loaded quickly. Bright photos filled the screen. There was Lisa standing with children in Kenya, England, and other countries. The judge read the description: building bridges through travel, education, and love. For the next hour, Judge Mitchell read story after story. She learned about the water well project in Uganda, the library in South Africa, and the food program in Ghana. Each post had photos and updates from the people Lisa helped. "I've been completely wrong about this woman," Judge Mitchell whispered to herself. At lunch, she declined to eat with other judges. Instead, she continued reading Lisa's blog. She found posts where Lisa wrote about the challenges of doing charity, work abroad while managing her life in England. "People often don't understand that travel blogging can be serious work," Lisa had written. "Every journey has purpose. Every connection matters." The afternoon cases passed quickly. Judge Mitchell's mind kept returning to what she had learned. When court ended, she made a decision. That evening, Judge Mitchell went to the local community center. She knew Lisa often spoke there about her travels. The room was filled with young people, parents, and teachers. Lisa stood at the front, showing photos on a large screen. "This is Sarah from Kenya," Lisa explained, pointing to a photo of a smiling girl. "She's now studying to be a doctor because she got a scholarship through our program." The audience clapped. Judge Mitchell stood quietly at the back of the room. After the presentation, people gathered around Lisa with questions. Judge Mitchell waited until the crowd thinned before approaching her. "Ms. Thompson," the judge said softly. Lisa turned around. Her eyebrows raised in surprise when she saw Judge Mitchell standing there. "Your Honor," Lisa replied, clearly confused. "I owe you an apology," Judge Mitchell began. "I was wrong yesterday. I didn't understand what you do." Lisa listened carefully. "I spent today learning about your work. I read your blog. I met with Mr. Wesley. You're doing important things, and I judged you unfairly." "Thank you for saying that," Lisa replied. "But I still broke the law by missing my court date." "Yes, but the fine doesn't fit the circumstances. Can you come to my office tomorrow morning? I'd like to review your case properly." Lisa nodded slowly. "Of course, Your Honor." The next morning, Lisa returned to the courthouse. This time she felt less nervous. Judge Mitchell invited her into her private office instead of the courtroom. "Please sit down," the judge offered. "I've been thinking all night about yesterday." Lisa took a seat. "I've reviewed your records. I see you've never had any other violations. You maintain a clean driving record here while doing remarkable work abroad." Judge Mitchell opened a file on her desk. "I spoke with the court administrator. We can reduce your fine to $50 as a court fee. But I have a different proposal." Lisa leaned forward, listening carefully. "Instead of paying the fine, would you consider speaking to our local youth court program? Many young people could benefit from hearing about your work." Lisa smiled for the first time since entering the courthouse. "I would be honored to do that, Your Honor." "Good. Then consider the matter settled." As Lisa stood to leave, Judge Mitchell added, "I've been a judge for 20 years. Yesterday taught me that I still have much to learn about people. Thank you for that lesson." "We all make mistakes," Lisa responded kindly. "The important thing is learning from them." That afternoon, Judge Mitchell's assistant noticed a change in her boss. During court sessions, the judge listened more carefully to each story. She asked more questions before making decisions. When David Wilson stopped by her office, he commented, "You seem different today, Sarah." "Yesterday's case taught me something important," she replied. Sometimes the story behind the law matters as much as the law itself. Later that month, Lisa Thompson spoke to the youth court participants. She shared her journey from being misunderstood to finding her voice. Many young people in the room felt inspired. Judge Mitchell attended the talk. She sat in the front row, this time as a student rather than a judge. As she listened to Lisa speak about second chances and understanding, she realized that sometimes the best judgments come not from the bench but from the heart. The end, looking up at the curious faces of the young people in the court program, Lisa began her story. Judge Mitchell sat quietly in the front row, watching her words touch the listeners. 2 weeks ago, I stood before Judge Mitchell feeling misunderstood, Lisa started. Today, we both learned something about giving second chances. The teenagers leaned forward. Some had made mistakes themselves and understood the fear of facing a judge. I travel to countries where children have very little. No books, sometimes no proper classrooms. When I returned to England, I struggled to explain why. This work matters. Mark, a 16-year-old in the program, raised his hand. How do you afford all this travel? Good question, Lisa smiled. I work 3 jobs. I teach online English classes, write travel guides, and run my blog. Every penny I earn goes toward helping others or funding my next trip. Judge Mitchell noticed the teenagers' surprised expressions. They seemed to see Lisa differently now, understanding the hard work behind her travels. Peter Thompson, Lisa's older brother, stood at the back of the room. He had driven from Manchester to support his sister. His heart warmed watching her speak confidently to the young people. My sister's brave, he whispered to another parent. She follows her dreams even when others doubt her. After the session, Judge Mitchell approached Lisa. Would you join me for coffee? There's something I'd like to discuss. At the small cafe near the courthouse, the 2 women sat across from each other. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across their table. I've been thinking, Judge Mitchell began, stirring her coffee. Our courts could learn from your approach to problem solving. You see needs and find creative solutions. Lisa listened carefully. I'd like to propose something. What if you became an advisor to our community outreach program? Help us understand how to better support people from different backgrounds. That's very kind of you, but I don't have legal training, Lisa replied hesitantly. You have something better. You understand people. You bridge cultures. That's exactly what our system needs more of. Over the next weeks, Lisa visited the courthouse regularly. She helped develop new programs for first-time offenders. Her approach focused on understanding circumstances rather than just applying rules. Michael Harris, a local reporter, heard about these changes. He interviewed Judge Mitchell for the Manchester Daily. People are calling it the Thompson effect, Michael noted. Your courtroom seems different now. Judge Mitchell nodded. One case changed my perspective. It reminded me that behind every file is a human story. Meanwhile, Lisa's blog gained new followers. She wrote about her experience with the justice system, sharing how one difficult day led to unexpected connections. Sometimes our biggest challenges become our greatest opportunities, she posted. This week, a misunderstanding turned into a chance to make real change. Her readers responded with their own stories of being misjudged. Teachers, social workers, and even other judges commented, sharing similar experiences. Emily Watson, a social worker in Liverpool, reached out to Lisa. Your story inspired me to rethink how I handle my cases. Yesterday, I spent extra time listening to a foster child's perspective. It made all the difference. Back in Kenya, Lisa's schools celebrated the news. Students there knew about Judge Mitchell now. They drew pictures showing a courtroom transformed into a classroom. Teacher Lisa makes everyone understand each other, wrote 10-year-old Grace in broken English. As winter approached, Judge Mitchell received an invitation. Lisa had organized a charity dinner to raise funds for another school project. The invitation read, "Come see how understanding changes everything." At the dinner, people from different parts of Lisa's life gathered. Her traveling companions, Kenyan teachers via video call, youth court participants and courthouse staff mixed together. David Wilson, Judge Mitchell's colleague, spoke to the crowd. 6 months ago, a simple traffic case brought two remarkable women together. Their story reminds us that justice is about more than laws. It's about seeing people clearly. That night, as guests mingled and shared food from different cultures, Judge Mitchell stood with Lisa near the window. I used to think being fair meant treating everyone exactly the same, the judge reflected. Now I understand that true fairness means seeing each person's unique circumstances. And I learned, Lisa added, that even judges can change their minds when given a chance. They watched the crowd together. Former youth court members talked with teachers. Kenyan school staff on the big screen laughed with English volunteers. The room buzzed with understanding and connection. Thomas Mitchell, the judge's teenage nephew, approached them. "Aunt Sarah, I want to do something like what Ms. Thompson does. Can you help?" Judge Mitchell looked at Lisa, who smiled warmly. Of course we can," they said together. That simple question from Thomas planted a seed. Perhaps their unexpected meeting would inspire more bridges between different worlds. The end. Looking at these search results about how to effectively end stories with meaning and hope, I can now write part 5 of the story. 6 months later, Lisa stood in a packed community hall. Today was special. The Youth Court program was celebrating its first anniversary of the Restorative Justice Initiative, a program that began from her chance meeting with Judge Mitchell. When I walked into that courtroom last year, I never imagined it would change everything, Lisa told the crowd. Judge Mitchell taught me that even the most difficult moments can become bridges to understanding. Judge Mitchell sat in the front row, smiling as she watched her former courtroom transform into a place of learning and connection. The program had helped dozens of young people find second chances through understanding rather than punishment. James Wilson, a young man from the first youth group, stepped forward to speak. 6 months ago, I thought my life was over because of a mistake, but this program showed me that my story didn't have to end with that chapter. In the back of the room stood Peter Thompson, Lisa's brother. He had watched his sister and Judge Mitchell create something beautiful from a simple misunderstanding. Their work now inspired other communities across England. After the ceremony, the two women stood together in the courthouse gardens where they often met for coffee. "I received a letter from Grace in Kenya," Lisa shared, pulling out a colorful drawing. "The children there send regular mail now. They call Judge Mitchell their faraway teacher who helps teacher Lisa help them." Judge Mitchell's eyes grew misty as she studied the children's artwork. "Sometimes I wonder what might have happened if we hadn't taken that second look at each other." "We both learned to see beyond the surface," Lisa replied. "You saw beyond my traffic violation. I saw beyond your judgment." As they walked back to the courthouse together, Thomas Mitchell ran toward them. Now 17, he had joined Lisa's youth volunteer program. "Aunt Sarah, Ms. Lisa, we raised enough money for the new school library in Uganda." Later that evening, Judge Mitchell wrote in her journal, "Today marks 1 year since the day a traffic case changed my understanding of justice. Lisa Thompson taught me that true judgment comes from taking time to understand, not just to rule." Meanwhile, Lisa updated her blog. "Dear readers, the judge I met last year became one of my strongest supporters. Our story proves that when we replace judgment with curiosity, amazing things happen. No matter where you are, remember that today's challenges may become tomorrow's opportunities for change." That night, as both women prepared for sleep in their separate homes, they reflected on how one small traffic case had grown into something much larger. Their story had become a beacon of hope for their community and beyond. In Kenya, Grace's village celebrated the arrival of new books for their library. In Manchester, young people found second chances through understanding. And in courtrooms across England, judges began asking more questions before making decisions. From a simple fine to a transformation that touched countless lives, Lisa and Judge Mitchell had proven that when we look beyond our first impressions, we find the power to change not just ourselves but the world around us. Their journey showed that sometimes the most unexpected encounters lead to the greatest changes, and that healing and understanding begin when we dare to see each other clearly. The